Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, and welcome to another Year in Gaming episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
We have me, the other Mike, over from Distorted Illuminations.
This is Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com, and everything is better with two screens.
This is Jody, Bachwheel from Twitter.
This is Kyle from therepgshow.com.
And welcome, guys. And before I mention what we're talking about, I just want to say, if I had a nickel for every time I had someone on this podcast from Newfoundland at the same time, I'd have 2 nickels. And I can't believe I've met 2 people from that island so far. Podcast with me.
And you say it like the home improvement promo from the 90s.
I've been wanting to make that joke for months now, or over a month since you guys joined. I was like, I'm going to make that joke. It had to be made. We are here to talk about the year 2004, a year that I don't remember, but apparently a lot of good games came out that year, from what the internet is telling me, and games that I don't remember coming out that year. So what we do, we're just going to talk about different games that we love or that we hate that came out in 2004 and see where we end up, because I have no idea where this is going to go. And Blair, why don't you start us off with a game you want to talk about?
Yeah, we had our group chat, and we kind of just listed everything that was amazing about this year. And then I thought about how, well, I could talk about Sly Cooper 2 or Metal Gear Solid 3 or Halo. But something I've been thinking about for the past couple of days, and I had to make sure it was the same year. Transformers from Atari, developed by Atari Melbourne House. It was the first Transformers game released in North America. I know there was that super hard Mystery of the Convoy for Famicom. It wasn't based on the G1 Transformers. It was based on the ongoing Armada cartoon. But it was a really well-received 7.75 third-person shooter. It had the voices from the cartoons, David Kaye as Megatron, Jerry Chalk as Optimus Prime. And the conceit of Transformers Armada is that the Transformers are basically hunting for Pokemon. There was a tiny little Transformers called Minicons, and they would join on their bodies and they would get new weapons. So the game worked in a similar way. So you would have to find these Minicons, and you can attach them, and you can get like stronger weapons or different types of weapons or gliders. And of course, you can transform whenever you want. And like, it has a real awesome epilogue where you're in space fighting Unicron, and there's tons of unlockables. Like, you can unlock the 80s promos. Like, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Like, it was a great little package, and it was before, like, Transformers had kind of come back, but in anime form. So it was, like, before the Michael Bay kind of resurgence in 2007, where it was, like, we were flooded with it, and we had the Cybertron games. So I just wanted to use the platform a little to talk about something that came out in that year that wasn't as grandiose as some of the bigger things that have been on this show, like Sly 2 and something like that.
I know this game only because I've seen the ROM on a particular websites, but I did not know this thing existed really, other than I saw a picture of it once.
I got it for my birthday that year.
Nice. This looks kind of cool. You see, that's the reason I love doing these. I get introduced to stuff I never knew existed that maybe I'll play someday.
I think I have a copy kicking around here somewhere.
I'm not a Transformers fan, though, for a really dumb reason, which I'm not going to go in on here. But a really, really dumb reason why I haven't experienced much Transformers stuff. All right. And Jody, what's a game you want to mention?
All right, I'm going to start with an underrated game, in my opinion, in the James Bond franchise, GoldenEye Rogue Agent.
That's not what I expected.
No, I love that game. It's my favorite, only my top GameCube game. Maybe one other is pretty close. But it's just, you don't even play as James Bond. You play as somebody who ends up killing him by accident in a training exercise and then join all his villains. And it's just an interesting story, and I just love my roommate at the time used to play a lot of the one-on-one. You get the mag guns and get the ability, because you have a golden eye, where you can actually get different abilities. You can see through walls and use the mag gun to shoot people on the other side of walls. And it was just a whole lot of fun.
I've never played it. I heard bad things about it, so I never touched it.
A lot of people have bad opinions of it, and it's probably not the best shooter, but I don't know. I just loved it. It was probably the time period I got it. I had my GameCube. And that's what I played on. It was just, I really loved that game.
It was one of those things where it's James Bond games got big because of GoldenEye, and we don't own the rights to GoldenEye, and it's all tangly, but we have to kind of play off the name. So it's a guy, and he has a golden eye. And I mean, EA, the Bond games they made were really good, like Everything or Nothing and Nightfire and things like that.
Yeah, Everything or Nothing is also this year. I'll mention that since I just started talking. I love Everything or Nothing. I actually played it for this podcast a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I think, when I was in Vegas. A really good game. People do not talk about this game enough because it's, locked to PS2, GameCube, Xbox. But Everything Nothing else came out 2004, and that's a really fun third-person shooter. And Kyle.
All right, so I'm going to approach this one a little different, I think, because there's like a ton of good games this year, and there's no way I'm going to be able to talk about all of them. So I'm going to try to get a couple of them together in like different groups. And if you guys want to add in on any of these, feel free. I don't want to step on any toes, but first one I'm going to go over is beat 'em up games. So beat 'em up games from 2004. Got 3 good ones on my list, all ones that I love to play. First one was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. I'm a huge D&D fan, so just kind of getting the D&D game, live on screen just really works out for me. Tons of magic in this game, really in depth. I think they did a great job of transforming the systems into games. Kind of the same with my second one. I've got Champions of Norath, if anyone has played that as well. It's another just kind of roll around, beat 'em up, equipping a bunch of swords, kind of roguelike, honestly, in the earlier days. So I had a ton of fun with that. And then finally, one of my favorite series that evolved later into other ones that I like even more, but X-Men Legends. So X-Men Legends, 4-person beat 'em up. Yeah, you have all sorts of X-Men in there. Fantastic gameplay, fantastic stories. There were collectibles, leveling systems. Like, me and my college friends would just get in on this game and just play for hours on end. I just love these kind of games, and 2004 was a really, really good year for a lot of them.
I forgot X-Men Legends came out this year.
Yeah.
I never enjoyed playing it alone, but it was a lot of fun if you had someone to run through it with.
That's exactly it. Those ones, Marvel Ultimate Alliance down the road, like all those games were so much fun with 2 or 3 people.
I want to know if X-Men Legends 1 still holds up.
Not as well as 2.
Yeah, I have 2, and 2 holds up pretty well.
I never played 2. I actually got 1 for my birthday in 2004. My mom had bought it for me. I remember that because I had asked for it. And I have not played it since then. I actually, I almost put on the show a few times because I want to go back and revisit those.
I like 2 because you can, X-Men Legends 1, they're very much playing off of the Ultimate comics. So everyone kind of has like stock uniforms, but in Legends 2, you can switch to like Tiger Stripe Wolverine and things like that, and like Astonishing Cyclops. You can also unlock Iron Man as well.
Oh, in the second one?
Yeah.
That's cool. I really want to play them. I just never got around to it. I actually saw an old Facebook memory when I was in a half-price books like 5 years ago, and I found them for Xbox, but they weren't backwards compatible, so I didn't buy them. But I mean, I can play them on my Steam Deck, so it's
great
now.
on PSP. That's how I played it. I had the PSP version, but I have played it on console. But it's a great little handheld game.
I technically have the PSP copy too.
Yeah,
for a Steam Deck, but that's another game I really wish would get re-released. X-Men Legends, just so more people can experience it. But hey, maybe that will happen now that Capcom's playing ball or Marvel's playing ball finally. Like maybe they'll make a package of those, but I doubt it.
Well, they have to play ball with Microsoft and Activision now.
Oh. Yeah.
And I've never played those, but Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, I actually just finished replaying that this year again. That is one of my favorite, this type of game.
Did it hold up?
Mm-hmm.
It did. It's still, the ending sucks because I really wish we got a third one.
I've never played
it's
them.
a cliffhanger.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I remember both of them. I think I have them for PS2, but I never played them. Like same with Champions of Norath. Like I know of it, but I never touched it.
They have PC ports for the Baldur's Gate games now, finally.
I have
they only came out like a year ago.
I have a bunch of them on Steam from all my Fanatical bundles and things. I do it. I know I own them. And Michael.
So yeah, there is so much. Because I looked back over 2004 after you brought up that casting call for this. I did not realize how many of these games actually came out this year.
It's a good year. I didn't realize that when I first started this.
Like just as an RPG fan, we had Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which not one of the better Final Fantasies, but enjoyable.
True.
Final Fantasy 11 came out.
True.
The oft-forgot La Pucelle Tactics, which actually preceded Disgaea.
Love that game. So good.
The infamous Nocturne.
Is that the one with Dante's in it, right?
Yep, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. I did not
Dante's
play
in a
this
Shin
until
Megami
years
Tensei
later.
game?
Yeah, he's in one. That I think only the PS2 version. I don't know if it's in the remake if he's in it still.
It's a big joke where it's they put ads and it's like featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Sometimes
Yeah.
they put it on like mock box art.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I have that guy. I actually bought that game for PS2 for $50, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this now before the price goes up, and I'll play it. Well,
I didn't play this game until I emulated it years later. And after I'd started is when the HD remake got announced. I was already halfway through Nocturne and like, oh yeah, this is coming now. Oh, I could have just waited a few months.
You don't know. That stuff isn't, widely talked about, so.
Yeah. Then you had another game a lot of people seem to forget about, Mega Man X Command Mission, because there's a Mega Man X RPG.
I really want
bad.
to play this.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Like it was made by the same guys that made Breath of Fire.
I played the PS2 version, which I think is the worst version, because I think the load times are really bad. The encounter rate was really high, is what I remember.
It did handle a bit better on the GameCube. I inevitably played both versions.
You must have
And
loved the game.
Even to default controls feel better on the GameCube version.
Wasn't like X8 also in like this within? Because this had a demo for X8, I think.
I think it did. It was so long ago.
I have always wanted to play Command Mission. I own it for PS2. I bought it back in the day, but I've never got around to it yet. Because RPGs they take too long, and I'm just like, but someday I gotta play this.
It is a long time. I remember I played a bit of it, but I never finished it.
Yeah.
It's a long game, but it was fun.
Yeah, and I love Mega Man, so I'm all on board one day.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, one thing that was kind of fun though in relation to Nocturne, I managed to avoid a lot of how the game played, but I knew everybody hated Matador. I cleared Matador on like my second try fighting him, because I was already kind of used to Shin Megami tricks, because I played so many of the other games. But I can see this game coming to a bunch of RPG people that had never even heard of Shin Megami before, just jumping into Nocturne. I see why Matador wrecked him.
I'm not surprised. Shin Megami Tensei games just seem... I've never played any but Persona 4, which I don't know if that really counts.
Oh yeah, Persona 4 is my favorite one. Specifically PS2 version. Didn't care for the Golden Remaster. That's another story entirely.
I will say one of the games you mentioned, the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. You're right, it's not a great game, but it was still fun to play that with my cousins. We all hooked up our Game Boys to it.
That's the right way to play it. I was just so stupid that you had to have link cables. You all had to have GBAs. Like, I mean, yes.
We just
I get
happened to already have it, so because we're big Pokemon people, so
Oh, okay.
we had all that.
I only played a little bit, and I remember like having to carry the bucket and only having one player, and it's like, this is stupid.
One player, that game sucked.
Yeah.
It was just fun to fool around with. I don't think we ever beat it or anything, but we played hours of it. We used to rent it.
It's pretty long, I think. I know I played it a bit with my girlfriend at the time, but we never finished it. And Lapu Cell Tactics, I actually bought that game back in the day, but I've never played it either.
I haven't
cool.
beaten it. It is fun. I never got around to beating it back in the day. I need to.
Same.
Funny, there's
On
not many
Crystal-
Texas games I haven't heard of. I never even heard of that one.
It's a really cute cover.
Mhm.
The girl with pink hair in the cover. I know that because that's why I
Yeah,
bought it.
again, if you know anything about the Disgaea games, this was just before Disgaea
Yeah.
by
Oh,
about
okay.
a year, I believe. Or maybe it was the same year. I don't remember. I'd have to double check.
Okay.
But yeah, this was that company's first RPG.
Okay. I'm definitely going to have to look that one up.
And Blair.
Well, I guess I'm under obligation to talk about Spider-Man 2.
Yes, you are.
There it is.
Even though I streamed this on the anniversary of the day that Spider-Man 2 came out, actually the anniversary of the time that I saw Spider-Man 2 in theaters, as proved by my movie ticket, I actually admittedly didn't play this when it came out. I was kind of burnt out on licensed games at the time. I consider myself a little bit of a video game snob, I guess. Like, oh, I thumb my nose at licensed games, even though I got Transformers that same year. But I think the year prior, because I bought the Spider-Man movie game in 2002, where I rented a GameCube and loved it, and I played it a year later, and I was trying to beat it on hard, I think, and I ended up breaking the controller. I got so mad, and I played the Hulk game, and I was like, no more licensed games. Enter the Matrix has broken me. So I kind of skipped this one, even though like I kept hearing it was really, really good, and I eventually got around to it, and I know if anyone saw my stream, I'm really bad at this game. I cannot make Spider-Man sing in this, but it's owes so much to what we have now. Like, you had to start somewhere, and this is where it all started. Like, right now, a Spider-Man game, the Shattered Dimensions came out, and people love that game. But when it came out, it was bemoaned because you couldn't swing around an open world. And when the Amazing Spider-Man movie game came out, that was criticized for having, like, the cloud swinging again, like in the Neversoft games. I mean, the mechanics have been refined by Insomniac and Shaba Games and a bunch of other people, and the combat is really not that good. But for what this did in a movie license game, no less, like, it deserves, like, the praise that it gets for basically making the blueprint for every Spider-Man game 20 years after the fact.
I really got to play this one day. I feel like I'm doing myself a gaming disservice that I've never touched this game.
And I'll shout out to the Game Boy Advance version by Digital Eclipse. It's okay, but it has this mode where you are in a 3D open world on a Game Boy Advance, and it runs as bad as what you can imagine. But Digital Eclipse were just wizards even back then. Like, they got Dragon's Lair running on a Game Boy Color, and now they're just doing amazing compilations. So, like, for them working on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance back then, they just took any license they could and ran with it, and they did not phone it in. So it's not an excellent game, but I mean, it's better than the DS version that came out as a launch title, which Brian Intihar, who now works on Insomniac's Spider-Man, gave like a 4 or 5 in EGM.
Remember those days when every game got a port?
Yeah.
Man, Spider-Man 2 was on, well, PS2, Xbox, GameCube was one version, then there was DS version, there was a GBA version, and the PC version was something different. Then there was a PSP version in 2005. There was an
had a version of that
N-Gage,
game.
yes, because I have that, but I don't have an N-Gage.
You don't have a taco? That's too bad.
I'm sure there was a Java version too for flip phones.
That's too much. And Jody.
So I guess it depends what year. If you go by the Japanese release, which I'm going to for this one,
That's fine.
this is Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Capcom's. I think that's the last Capcom Zelda game. They did
It
the
is.
Oracle of Ages and seasons before that. But it's actually still one of my favorite Zeldas. Now, I will say I've only played like 6 out of the Zelda games. And next to Wind Waker, this is actually my favorite of them, of the ones I've played. It's a lot on a GBA.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
I've only started playing Minish Cap off the virtual consoles from Nintendo. What little I've played, I've liked it.
One
And
of
a lot of
the
cool abilities.
Zeldas I haven't played.
You should, especially with it being on Switch now. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing that game. Like,
Yeah,
that,
it is on Switch.
amazing.
Yeah, because it's on the Nintendo, what do you call it?
Online.
Crap. I don't know why I can't think of the word. But it's on the rental service.
Yeah, NSO.
Thank you.
I was one of the 3DS ambassadors, so I have this on my 3DS, which I think was like a treat or something because it never came out on the virtual console. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
It
had
was
it
to
on
say
my
we're
game.
sorry that our 3DS sucks.
Yeah.
No, it's just a great game. I actually never played it until this podcast. A few years ago, I played it for the first time, and I'm a huge Zelda fan. I just never touched it, and that's a
It got
great
overlooked
game.
by a lot of people back in the day. I don't know if it wasn't a huge release. I remember my nephew had it, and he lent it to me, and I beat it there. And then I emulated it again after, because I just love that game so much.
For me, I skipped GBA pretty much completely. I never owned one. I actually didn't play GBA games until I got a DS, and then I played some, but I missed so many until emulation.
So I guess if it never came out here until 2005,
Yep.
I guess the DS was probably being pushed, and the PSP, which everyone thought was going to eat the DS's lunch. And the
Yeah.
PSP is a great machine, but the DS just killed it. At least in North America, I know Japan was big with Monster Hunter. So that probably had something to do with it, where it was just a quaint little Game Boy game, even though it probably got 9s and 10s.
The
Yeah.
PSP was a great machine for awesome remakes of PS1 RPGs.
True.
There's so many.
True.
And speaking of games that came out in Japan in 2004, I'm going to do this very brief other game I want to mention, but Metal Gear Acid came out in Japan in 2004, which I just talked about. That's a strange fucking game, by the way. Woo.
It's a game I wanted to love but didn't. I think
I fell in love with it, even though I wanted to break it at the end too, but I fell in love with it.
you'll really like the second, because I remember when I played the first one, because I got a PSP in 2004. No, wait. I think it was 2005. Yeah, because I wanted Maverick Hunter X and Powered Up. And I played Metal Gear Acid 1. And I said, well, if they fix these things, this concept is great. And that game is Metal Gear Acid 2.
I am probably, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it on the schedule next year. I need to play that game. Because I loved Acid 1. It just needed a few quality of life adjustments. Like, being able to save during your 2-hour mission.
I guess you won't be playing with a solid eye.
I will not be. Oh, and the other game that I want to mention that I forgot was 2004, but I actually played and beat it back in the day, is Drakengard for PS2.
Man,
I really liked this game because I was still am a big Squaresoft guy, and this was one of the Square games. I mean, yeah, Square Enix at the time, but still, like I remember being like, and you get to be a freaking dragon. I was like, what else can I ask for? And I remember really liking it. It just was a really weird game, and I just don't ever hear anybody talk about it.
I didn't think anybody else remembered that game.
I have 1 and 2 on my shelf at home for my PS2 games, and I look at it, and I actually pulled them out. I'm like, you are going to remember that these exist, Mike, and you're going to put them on the show next year. So I found someone else to play Drakengard. I mean, isn't it part of the Nier series too?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
One of the
Yoko Taro.
endings actually is the beginning of Nier. It's not even like supposed to be the canon ending originally, but they turned it into Nier.
Okay. I know there's 2 more. I own 2, and I know there's 3, but I've only ever played the first one once back in the day. I've never touched it since probably 2005.
Only PS2 game I played back in the day because I played it at somebody's house, but I really liked it.
Someday. Hopefully next year. Because I just I like doing some weird shit on the show. And Kyle.
Boy, all right. So another blanket of games I'm throwing out there. So this one is a bunch of different like sports games and some ones that are close enough to that. So throwing this one out there for my wife, one of her favorite games, Gallop Racer 2004, horse racing game. It's fine, just go with it. Some other fun ones, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 and Need for Speed Underground 2 both came out this year. Both fantastic games, great soundtracks. Tony Hawk, people familiar with clearly. Need for Speed 2 Underground 2, again, people are probably familiar with it, but both really, really good entries to those series. Kind of a news one. This is the last year that 2K games existed because EA Sports bought out most of the rights for NBA, NFL, and MLB, I believe. So the last year for all those third-party ones or the non-EA games, they had some good ones as well there. I remember NFL 2K was pretty popular amongst me and my friends. Probably the most popular one for this year, though, and really technologically advanced, was Fight Night 2004. If you guys remember, with the analog sticks, you could have different kinds of punches, you could dodge. This was so much fun. 2004 was my senior year of college, senior year of high school, freshman year of college. So, like, we played this game all the time, hours and hours on end, just, sitting around having a beer as a freshman, all that kind of cool stuff, and getting into some fights with that. Just really, really enjoyed those games a whole lot. There was just a lot of good sports stuff out. I even think NFL Street came out that year for people who were into those kind of games too. So yeah, bunch of good stuff. Really, really liked all those.
I only have one memory of that ESPN game, at least the one for the one that you were just talking about, because it was $20 when it came out, and our mutual friend Kyle, Brad, he actually bought it. I remember that for $20. He'd be like, well, I'm like, you don't even like sports games. He's like, but it's $20.
Right.
He never played it. Played like maybe once or twice, but yeah, that's why it's always stuck with me.
My university, I was in residence, and my roommate, who is someone I knew from where I live, we both got GameCubes that year for Christmas. Mine was Anticipation Resident Evil 4, and he got Fight Night. And I think a lot of it had to do because in the GameCube version, you can unlock Super Punch-Out.
Really?
Yeah. And I think I don't know, if you can either unlock Super Punch-Out or Little Mac was a bonus fighter. But I had a friend, and he would really get into the controls where he would like have the GameCube controller and he would like duck and weave. It was so funny. And then there was a creative fighter option, and one of my friends made me but my stats were super low, so I would just punch people, but it wouldn't do any damage. It was so funny.
Oh,
Those were the days, though, when it was fun just make your friends all in a fighting game or something, or just some kind of game and just have them there.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Need for Speed Underground 2 is the last one of those games I could still do the drifting. 1 and 2, I could do the drifting. After that, they changed the mechanics on it somehow, and I couldn't get it to click at all. But I loved those first two.
yeah, 2 was the apex of that series by far.
Yeah.
They had everything just perfectly tuned.
People love that second one. I vaguely remember, like, probably 2006 or 05 when I was coming to Minnesota for the first time and hanging out with my girlfriend at the time. And I remember, like, her brother and friends, like, just playing it. Like, that still is with me. Watt, if you listen to this episode, I'm pretty sure you played it. One of my listeners and a good friend of mine. I never played it, though. I don't like racing games.
I'm not a big fan of them, but I liked that one. I don't know why that one did, but I guess it was my freshman year of college, too. And I was,
Sometimes games just got to be the right place at the right time. And they just kind of have that effect on you.
Did it lean more arcade than sim? That might have something to do with it, and I guess
It
the
was.
Fast and the
I think it got
Furious
more sim.
culture.
in later ones, and I can't play Sims at all. I just suck at them.
Yeah, I think honestly, in later one, did Gran Turismo 4 came out this year too, I think, and that sold pretty well. And I believe that Need for Speed thought that was the route to go instead.
Yeah.
So they switched it up.
The arcade's more fun, though, sometimes. Like, you don't want
It
a real
is.
racing. You just want to hold down the X button and go fast.
Just go fast and knock the other guys off the track and into oncoming cars. I remember doing that a lot in drag racing.
There's only been one Need for Speed I ever really got into, but that's not in 2004. 360 era. I like story modes, and I don't know, a lot of these games don't have story modes, so I wouldn't be interested.
I'm pretty sure the first Underground didn't it? Wait, wasn't Brooke Burke in it?
There was a story.
Like, that
I
was the
remember
big
finishing
selling
it.
points? Because that was like when, like, 2001 was Fast and Furious, and then
God.
everyone was like, we have to kind of get in that street racing culture, and I think that's where the first Need for Speed Underground came from.
Actually, it was very much looked like you were drag racing in the early Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
It was very much same style.
Don't forget you were stealing your VCRs, too.
Oh man, make feel old.
That's a movie when you watch you go, oh no, I have aged. All right,
Brooke
and
Burke's in the second one.
second one is not great. And Michael.
So next up, the game that is a single melody has lived rent-free in my head for over a decade now. Na 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 Katamari Damacy.
Yep.
I adore Katamari Damacy. That has never left my brain. Just that one melody.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's another game people keep telling me I should play someday.
It's weird. Like, it's hard to even describe what genre this game is. It's like a 3D platforming puzzle game, but all you're doing is gathering a giant ball of junk.
Yeah,
And the whole story of the game is the king of the cosmos just got really drunk one day, knocked all the stars out of the sky, and went, hey, son, there's a bunch of useless junk on Earth. Roll it up into a ball so we can make new stars out of it.
one day I gotta play it. I just don't know when that day will come.
Game, I guess it's a few years later, but the whole plot of the second game is so many people like the first one, they made another. It's the end game reason for the second's existence.
Is there only 2 in the series?
Oh no, there's a bunch.
There are 5 as far as I'm aware. The first 2 on the PS2, there was 1 on the 360, 1 on the PS3, 1 on the Vita, and they've been doing remakes of them recently on the Switch and PC.
Okay.
And there was one on PSP, but I think that was largely a remix.
That might have been the one I said for PS Vita. I forgot what system that came out on. It's the only one I haven't played. It's really hard to describe how weird this game is, because nothing you can say really gives justice to the bizarre insanity of rolling a giant ball of screaming children into other children.
What?
Yeah, that's Katamari.
Mm-hmm.
I know of it. I've seen reviews. I've seen things about it. I've just never touched it.
Yeah, I am not a puzzle game guy, but this one does it for me.
Okay, well, that's fair. I'm not a puzzle game either. Like, those aren't my...
You need just enough of a gimmick to do it, or it just needs to be part of another game like Lufia 2. Throw puzzles in an RPG dungeon, love them.
Okay. And Blair, it is your turn again.
I was mulling over because the command mission discussion kind of got my like neurons firing about something else, but I think I'll bring that in the lightning round because we kind of brought up the Fight Night games. I was thinking about my university years, so then I had to immediately go to Sly Cooper 2, Band of Thieves, because I adore that game. I played the first one and I thought it was okay, but then I remember reading an EGM and seeing the commercials, or reading the review in EGM, seeing the commercials where like the commercials pitched it as like, okay, we have to do this thing, but first we have to do this, then we have to do this, and then we get the heist. And I was a big Ocean's 11 fan. Like when I got a DVD player, right, birthday in 2002, like Ocean's 11 is one of the first movies I rented, and I love that movie. And just like heist movies, like I saw The Italian Job the year after that, just like setting up that perfect plan. And here was this game. I mean, it's a cartoon raccoon and his turtle friend and his hippo friend, but you're still a band of crooks setting up these heists. And the creative way, I guess, that they do the PG version of, like, there's a guy and he's hooked to quote unquote spice, but it's cocaine. Like he's on cocaine, but it's spice. And when I was in university that year, I think the following year, actually, yeah, that was 2005. I don't think I played this till 2005. Interesting. I had my own room and I had friends, and they just liked to watch me play Sly Cooper. So after all of our work was done or whatever, they would be like, okay, go play Sly Cooper. And we just go around the world and go collect bottles. Like I had a friend who was really good at spotting the bottles in the open worlds. And just like those little hub playgrounds where you just parkour around. Like I miss the series so much. And I get that we're in a different world now, but I don't know. If Ratchet can live side by side with Spider-Man and other things, I don't understand why someone can't pick up the baton for this. Like I miss it so much.
I was really late to Sly Cooper. I didn't play it until the PS3 remasters when they were building up to 4. And I gotta say, these are the funnest collectathon games I've played.
2 is really, really good.
I just finished 1 on PlayStation 5 because they put it out, and I think Digital Foundry did a video talking about how it's whatever, but it didn't bother me at all. It just made me nostalgic for an era where you could release something that simple and it would sell really well. Like there's no skill trees or menus. It's like push X to do this, push circle to do this, and that's it.
It was so good. Even going back, as I said, I missed out until the collections. I think the game still holds up. I think if they put that out, people would grab and say, hey, this is fun.
From what I read, I think the Sly Cooper re-release on PlayStation 5 is doing better than what they expected. And I think Sly 2 is going to be later this year.
Okay.
But I think that's going to be like October. So that's after like Astrobot, Silent Hill 2, and a bunch of other things. So it's probably going to get buried and forgotten.
Sly 2, one thing that's always stuck with me at that game, when I first started this podcast, one of my original co-hosts, we were just talking about what are our favorite games of all time. And that was his favorite game of all time. And I played it a few years ago for the show, and still, I had a great time with it. And I have no nostalgic, and I don't like platformers, and I loved it. It's just so good. So that's saying something. And Jody.
All right. I'll say 2 games, and it's just from one of my favorite series of all time, is Metroid. Metroid had 2 games released this year. Zero Mission and Metro Prime 2 Echoes. And
one amazing game.
Yes. Zero Mission is
I love Zero.
Like, Zero Mission is just awesome. And it's such a, like, I could never really get into the NES game. I played every other one after that, except for a couple of the newer ones. But Zero Mission was so hooked. And it's the only Metro game I 100% did everything in every mode in that game. I had all the galleries and everything unlocked. And
I've tried Metroid on Nintendo lots of times, but I just can't get anywhere.
No, I found the jumpy, it's like, I don't know, I can't even jump in that game right. Like, it's so floaty, and I can't do the NES one at all.
It's just such an old game for the original. So, I mean, and Zero Mission does such a good job of just making it like it's a new game. And I don't like really challenging games. I don't care for Metroid Fusion, which is not this year, but I love Zero Mission. I've talked about that game 2 or 3 times on podcasts. It's just such a good game.
Yeah. I like Fusion, but no, Zero Mission's my favorite in the Game Boys for once.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because I've never liked any of the Metroid games. But then I turn around and I love the whole Metroidvania genre it was largely responsible for creating.
Well, it depends. I mean, I'm a big Metroidvania, but I like the Castlevania versions better when you have where you level up.
I didn't
that could
really
be
care for any Castlevania game either. But give me like Hollow Knight.
Yeah, it's like
I
a
gotta
thing
finish that game. That's so
where
hard.
like I don't care about a Dark Souls game, for example, because I don't like that style of game plus the wrapper that it's in, like the medieval whatever worlds. I don't care. But if they turned around and said, okay, we're gonna do I can't even think of a superhero Blade as like a Dark Souls game where you have to do like perfect parries on like vampires, I would probably buy that in a heartbeat.
Well, you would anyway, just because of who you are.
Yeah.
One other thing I will say though for Prime 2, if you got rid of the ammo mechanic in Prime 2, I think it would be almost as good as the first one. The ammo mechanic ruined that game for me.
I have never played Prime 2, and it's just like I was going through a bunch of the Metroid series on the show, and then I got down to Prime 2, Metroid Other M, and I just stopped.
I love
I just
Other
don't
M.
wanna
I know
play either one.
I'm pretty much alone there, but I do love Other M.
I would add in if
I
you got
enjoy
rid
things
of the
about it.
Sky Temple key hunts, because that just
Yeah.
slams the momentum that you're on.
True.
That in Prime 2?
But- That's in
Yeah.
Prime 2, yeah.
Oh,
But
all
I
of
could
them
deal with
have
that because it's
yeah.
similar to the one before. But I literally got up to the Emperor Ring, second last boss, and just could not beat it because I kept running out of ammo.
That's shitty.
I had friends who were the same way. They were way more hardcore Metroid fans than me, and they could not beat that game. And I think I did it once, and I've never tried it again.
I'm hoping they remaster it and release it on Switch, and then maybe it has some quality of life, so it's not as hard. Because I do want to play it.
I have the trilogy downstairs, and I do hear he's actually easier in the trilogy. I just haven't worked my way through the second game again. I've beaten the first and third again, but the second one I got to work on again.
I don't know. One part of me is like, I should do it, and I have save states, but I don't know. It just,
Two
it's
is a bit of a
that-
slog. I don't know.
It scares me.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to be harder than I want to mess with.
It definitely is not a Mike Albertin game because there's also the mechanic where you're losing power and you have to set up safe zones.
Yeah, whenever you're in the dark world.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool when I did it the first time, but it does get a bit old as you go on
Yeah.
through the game.
It was a choice.
All right, I'll go next. I'm going to get a big game out of the way, but I'll start off the right way. I'm still in love with a snake eater. Metal Gear Solid 3 came out this year. I love this game. This is such a good game. It still holds up. It's still just so much fun to play. Not the best unit, but one of the best units. This is such a classic PS2 game that everyone should play at some point. And it's been re-released enough times, so everyone can play it.
So
I just enjoy it.
I will pause it. Do you love Snake Eater or do you love Snake Eater Subsistence?
Probably Subsistence, but I did play the original Snake Eater and I did like it too. But all my more recent playthroughs have all been Subsistence. I know
played
there's differences.
Yeah. I played the original, and that overhead the overhead camera is not suited for outdoors. Like, I stomached it, but once Subsistence came around and gave you the Splinter Cell view, that's when it really clicked.
It's probably only Subsistence I played, because I also always play this on very easy with the trank gun with unlimited ammo. So I don't even play this game correctly, but I love it. It's just such a great game. And I mean, I would say like it doesn't really all Metal Gears are. I mean, four and I never played 5, but 4 is so different. But no, I love 3. It's such a great game.
Sit here as the odd man out in the corner who has never liked any Metal Gear game.
That happens.
I have only played the NES one.
You need to play this. You need to play this one.
Gear.
You can
And
play this one without touching any other one, and the story will make as much sense as it would normally.
I wonder if the expectations, because it's not that Metal Gear was unpopular, but Metal Gear Solid 1 was such a groundbreaking experience that was universally praised. And Metal Gear Solid 2 was so divisive that I wonder if Snake Eater... I remember I wasn't that excited for it because I wanted to find out what happened after 2. And when I found out it was this 1960s prequel, I was like, I'll get around to it eventually. But then I rented it out from a place called Movie Gallery. And I just, every night, I was like, okay, I'm going to get in through this. And like everyone got to the end and like bawled my eyes out at like 2 a.m.
Oh, and since there's another quick game I'll get out of the way, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes also came out in 2004, which is still locked to the GameCube after all these years. That's
a
another really
remake,
good game.
isn't it? Is Twin Snakes a remake of one of them?
It's a remake of the first one, but with the Metal Gear Solid 2 style of gameplay, so you can aim, and a little kookier story, so they can do crazy cutscenes. But it's really damn good. It is so good. And it sucks that it's locked.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, and I'll leave it at that.
I just love Metal Gear, so I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I loved Acid, so, I mean, yeah.
See, I
It
love
was like
Metal
the
Gear
only
too.
one I really didn't get into that much. I played 1, 2, and 4 a lot, but for some reason 3 never came across.
3's very different because you have the camouflage, you have the eating. I mean, it's a very different game.
And no Soliton Radar either, because that was like 1 and 2 was like Metal Gear. John Davison, I think he's with IGN now, but I knew him from EGM and 1UP. I remember when he played it, he almost equated Metal Gear Solid to a puzzle game. Because it's effectively you have like the dot, and you are the dot who has to maneuver around these things to get to a door. And Snake Eater, like, it threw all that out the window and made some of the best, like the fight with the end, where you have to use all of your tools, like your binoculars and your sound detectors and everything, just to find him. Or you can just like fast forward your memory card a week and kill him from old age. Like, there's so many weird things.
If you fast forward a week, he's dead. Or if you just don't play the game and you just left it alone and came back to it, he'll be dead. I love Snake Eater so much. All the bosses have little tricks like that. All right, and Michael.
About one of the only other big games to note that I'd want to talk about is Pokemon Leaf Green or Fire Red.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in. I think I got skipped on that last one too, but yeah, Leaf Green, Fire Red for sure.
Oh shit! Sorry, Kyle. I didn't write down the order that I started doing these in. I was like, I should do that. I said to myself before we recorded.
I mean, if he brought up Leaf Green, I don't know if I'd have had anything to talk about at this point.
No, you do yours. I just want to like jump my 2 other ones in here. I wasn't going to talk much about them. 2 more games: Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle Earth, and Lord of the Rings: The Third Age also came out as well. Fun ones. But yeah, go more about Leaf Green, Fire Red, and Emerald all came out in this year.
Yeah. I played, of course, Pokemon back on the Game Boy. It's not a lot to add to Leaf Green. It's just a better version of the original release. More stuff, looks a lot nicer. It's Pokemon.
Less buggy.
It's a really good
Fire
game.
Red and
You could trade with Coliseum. You could trade with Gen 3. You could have up to 350 Pokemon in Leaf Green, Fire Red.
It's really good. I played it for this podcast a few years ago, and I had a great time with it. And I love the originals.
All these years later, Scyther's still my favorite. No matter Scyther. Not a stupid scissor evolution. Go in a garbage somewhere.
I can't say nothing. Zubat's still my favorite.
Zubat for me.
I'll tell you, Fire Red and Emerald were the last 2 I 100%ed the Pokedex.
Damn.
Me and my 5 nephews all played those. We all had different copies of it, and we traded them around to make sure we got all of them.
But that's the right way to do it with family or friends and have that experience. No, I think Fire Red is such a good game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'd literally pick which Pokemon game I bought based off which ones had Scyther and which ones didn't. That's how much I like Scyther.
Well, that's
if it's
fair.
not
I mean,
your game, I'm not picking it up.
We all have our favorites. I mean, like I said, Sandshrew is my favorite. Do I use them when I play? Not really, but I just love that Pokemon. If I could have any Pokemon in real life, I would have had a Sandshrew.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, I'd have Arceus for obvious reasons.
Pokemon God.
He can like mess with time, can he?
Well, he's literally God. He created everything.
It's like, I have every Pokemon I want now. What are you going to do to stop me?
Lore is not that great. But to mention that, I want to talk about the 2 games Kyle mentioned quickly. Third Age. I have been wanting to play that game for 20 years now. Never done it yet. I own it. I own multiple copies of it. It looks so cool.
Say, was that the turn-based RPG? Because I know there was one. Okay.
The turn-based RPG where you play as not the real characters, but like fake versions of them that are following them behind.
Mm-hmm.
There was a turn-based Lord of the Rings game. I did not even know that.
Yes. And it's really good too.
From what I understand, it is literally that. You're following directly behind the Fellowship with just cheap knockoffs of all of the Fellowship characters, and you're just doing what they did immediately after they did it.
So it's effectively like Luigi's story in Thousand Year Door.
Yes.
But it's always interested me, and I've always been so curious to play it. I just never gotten around to it. And I just one day I want to. And there is a GBA version, which is a tactic style RPG like Fire Emblem. So for those that don't know, I don't know if that's also 2004. I'm assuming it is, but yeah, never played that either. But I want to.
Interesting.
And I've also never played the Battle for Middle Earth, but that's the RTS one, correct?
Yeah.
Did you play it a bunch?
That one I know of.
I played a little bit of it. I used to play more RTS. Another one I was going to bring up too this year, Rome Total War, was another good RTS game.
Yeah.
That game had a TV show, literally.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. Then just I played a lot more PC back then than I do now, so that was really it for me. And yeah, just had a lot of fun with those games.
I've never played Rome Total War. I just remember because there was a History Channel show where they would reenact battles and use that game and show footage and talk about it. Like that was literally a show on History Channel at one point. I remember that. Yeah, I like RTSs, but I suck at them, so I don't play them. But I think they're just so cool.
Yeah, I don't anymore. I'm too old for that now.
Back then's the time I kept trying and losing, but RTSs were fun back then.
No, that's completely fair. And Blair, anything else you want to mention? Sure, we should.
Yeah. And this isn't even a new game. It's a new-ish game, and that's Mega Man Anniversary Collection. Because the concept of a Mega Man collection was a novelty at the time. Because Mega Man, it wasn't dead per se, but what the public at large had known of Mega Man was kind of dead. The Battle Network games were in the swing of things. Zero was still ongoing, Game Boy Advance, and then you had Command Mission. But like the Mega Man v Dr. Wily saga, we thought was over. And I had a few Mega Man games, and I played a few on Nesticle when emulators first started. But so the idea of having Mega Man 1 through 8 on this one package, even though I know it's not the best way to play those games, plus 2 arcade games that you never came out here at the time, I don't think anyways. And then you had, like the PS2 version had an episode of the cartoon, which in the pre-streaming era where you couldn't get everything whenever you wanted was a pretty big deal. And the GameCube version, which people like for some reason, and I don't know why, because they flip the controls where B is jump and A is shoot. And I don't understand why anyone likes that version better, but to each his own. The GameCube version has a neat little mini documentary about like the series. And then I think the Xbox version is just like that and the cartoon. But I remember wanting that game so bad. And I didn't live near a GameStop. It was EB Games here. And I would go down to my local Carboneer Walmart. I didn't even know why I name dropped the town, but just my local Walmart like every day. And then I think one Friday, my friend was like, oh, there's going to be a party over here later on. I was like, cool. And I went down to Walmart and they had Mega Man Anniversary Collection. I was like, I'm not going. I went home and like finished Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 in like one sitting. Yeah, and I guess we brought on like Command Mission. Like, it was a big year for Mega Man in a weird way. Because you had 0, 3 was out, Command Mission, X8 did come out, and this. So there was a lot if you were a Mega Man fan and if you like all the different flavors. But just having those old games, now it's, there's Mega Man collections everywhere. They're on NSO, they're on Virtual Console, they're on 3DS. But back then, it was like, oh man, I get to play Mega Man 1 through 8 on one disc. Like, sign me up.
Yeah, it was pretty damn cool. I didn't play it when it came out, but I remember being excited for it.
There was one of the Battle Network games came out that year too. So it was the last one I played, the Colonel one.
I think that was 2005. 2004 was Blue Moon Red Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to double check myself.
So I did play that one too. I love Mega Man. Everything Mega Man's awesome.
It was collections were just so cool then. I mean, Blair's right. Like we didn't get them. If you didn't emulate, you didn't know it was a thing. So yeah, and for some reason there's a music box behind me going off right now. And I don't know why. Okay, and Jody.
All right. I guess this one's probably, we haven't talked about it much, but it's been talked about a lot this year because it got re-released. Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door was 2004.
Yeah.
Damn, they literally waited 20 years to release the remake? Or the remaster of it?
Which, it's my second favorite Paper Mario game. I still like the first one better, even though I know it's simpler. But I think it was my first real Mario RPG. but it was still a really good one. It was the last of the real RPGs too in that series, because after that, like, I still enjoyed Super, but they weren't really RPGs after that, or not the same style of RPG.
You know what? I picked this up too on the remake a couple of weeks ago, and I've been having a great time with it. It is really, really fun. Absolutely worth it as well on the Switch. I think they did put some new stuff into it. It's kind of nice. Warpipe room is a little better too, so I'd suggest it if people are looking.
It's even a new
I'm
boss
here.
in the what's it called, the pit. In that chapter, you can actually fight Prince Mush now as a secret
True.
boss.
Just eat Prince Mush last night, actually.
Nice.
I know they made a bunch of changes from what I've heard, but I've never played Thousand Year Door still. I mean, I played the first Paper Mario for the show, and I meant to get to Thousand Year Door at some point. I just haven't.
It is good. It's a lot of fun. I love that game. I have not played the Switch version. I've watched somebody play it, but I played the GameCube version right through.
Okay, I got a bit of a deep cut. Oh wait, that's not even 2004. You lied to me. Game 2004 Wikipedia. Oh, here's a game that I played a little bit of, but I want to mention PsyOps, the MindGeek Conspiracy, came out in 2004. Never beat it, but I remember played a couple hours of it, and I thought it was really cool. It's a strange third-person shooter where you have psychic powers, and it's very edgelordy, I feel like, or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong, but I know I played it, and I remember it was a cool game.
I had this, but I didn't really give it the chance it deserved, and I think I was a poor university student, so I probably flipped it to help pay for something else. Because I don't think it sold particularly well, as I think a friend and I were at Walmart, and they had this package with Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance for like $29 or something.
I had to go turn off that alarm. All right, and I think that would be Kyle.
Right, so this one's going to probably be the meat and potatoes of mine. So this is RPG Time 2004. Covered Thousand Year Door, covered a little bit of Rome Total War. So some big ones for me, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, 2004. Fantastic game. Really, I really like Kingdom Hearts games personally. Yeah, I'm gonna double check that, but yeah, 2004 Japan and December 7th, 2004 for North America. But yeah, really, really enjoyed it. The card game style. I played the re-release when it came out before 3, when they made it a little bit better, not on the handheld, and it holds up pretty well, honestly. I'd still say go out and play it to people on that one. Another one, not too much to talk about, but a fun game, Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. The Trails series, I really do enjoy. I think people should play more of those if they're into it. This is a Joshua and Estelle part of the series. Suikoden 4, I'm going to come out and say I love the Suikoden games. It is absolutely the worst one of all of them, though, in 4.
Wait, 4 was this year? Or that year?
2004, yeah, that's what...
That was my very first Suikoden game.
And it is so bad, I'm sorry. But I love all of the Suikoden games. I played 2 probably a dozen times. I did episodes on 2 and 5 recently this year, but 4 is not great. But if you like the games, play it. It's worthwhile. Another one that should be better than it is, but a fantastic game as well, KOTOR 2, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Sith Lords came out this year. Fantastic game. The ending didn't really hold up because it wasn't completed, unfortunately, but still go through and play it. They did re-release it about a year or 2 ago, I think, as well. And then what else do I have on this one? Finally, big one for me, probably going to be in my top 3 at the end of the show. Dragon Quest VIII.
Great
boy,
game.
Super fantastic game. First Quest game, I think, not Warrior for the North American side. But yeah, this game is awesome. I thought the voice acting was amazing. I think it was Toriyama does the art as well. Super fantastic. You just do so many things in this game. The story is absolutely amazing. I think it really does still hold up. Play it if you love RPGs.
My first entry into Dragon Quest, I did really like it.
Mm-hmm. It is just so many good things about it. So many good systems, the monster hunting and collecting, like all of it is just, it's fantastic.
I can't believe it took a year to get localized, because I thought it was later, but it was 2004 in Japan. We never got it until 2005. Because I remember I was like, man, this had a Final Fantasy 12 demo, if I'm not mistaken, and that game never came out until 2006.
Mm-hmm.
I finally beat KOTOR 2 last year. I've been playing it on and off for years since it came out. Started back on the Xbox, but I did it with the content mod last year on PC, and I think that adds a lot to it.
And you're a
Makes
big
it
Star
much
Wars
better.
fan too.
Yeah,
I haven't played it either.
I've played it a bunch, but just it's so glitchy in the second half. I never finished the second half until last year.
I'm going to finally do it next year because people have demanded it, essentially. And I'm like, all right, I'll finally experience it.
I finished the first one like a dozen times now. I had to
one's really
finally
good.
finish the second one.
Yeah, first one's amazing.
It is.
And Michael, did you have any other games you want to mention?
Nothing that wouldn't be outside of, like, say, doing a lightning round. I
Okay.
will just say, in regards to Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, though, there are two camps on this game. There are people who absolutely love it, and I don't think there's in between, but I'm on side. I could not stand the combat in that game.
That's fair. I just
Mhm.
played Reid Chain of Memories recently for this podcast, and I wanted to. I was very safe stated and cheated, and fuck that game. But I love the GBA.
Yeah, I just
So-
think it's funny. It's one of those games. It's one or the other. There is no middle ground on that game.
For some reason, just cards as a medium worked for me. I don't get it, but
It works for me too. It just depends. You'll hear about it eventually when this show. But I played Metal Gear Acid and Reid Chain of Memories in the same week or back to back, and that was not a good idea.
that'd be tough.
And I play Marvel Snap every single day, so I have 3 card games going on at the same time. That was too much. And Blair.
I think I need to talk about the Nintendo DS as a piece of hardware that came out this year. Admittedly, when it came out this year, I didn't care about it. The original design I thought was a little ugly, and the software wasn't very appealing. It was cool that the big selling points, I guess, is they were still they hadn't really figured out how to work in the kind of magic they did with the touchscreen. So it was like, here's Mario 64, but it's with a D-pad, and this game was built around the idea of an analog stick, so it's fun, but also not really. But that thing, man, probably one of my favorite devices of all time, like where that would happen, where a year later you had Mario Kart and Castlevania, the DS Lite come out, new Super Mario Brothers, and then everyone just wanted to be on that machine. Like that thing, BioWare was like, we want to be on this machine. Here's an RPG, like Itagaki doing Ninja Gaiden, like this Ninja Gaiden book style game. You had the Phoenix Wright series, which took off. Like Dragon Quest IX was a DS exclusive. Like this is how big this machine was and how big the install base was. And people who loved games were buying it. People who only casually played it were buying it. Like Brain Age, Elite Beat Agents, one of my favorite games of all time, a year later in 2005. Like, the DS just crushed it, and I don't think they really captured them, at least for me anyways, the magic with the 3DS that the DS had. Like, I know it eventually found its footing, had some really great software, but just, like, everyone I knew had a DS, and I bought at least 3. So I just loved buying it.
Nintendo didn't mind.
I didn't get into the DS till a few years later, but actually, I prefer the Super Mario DS game to the Super Mario 64, the N64. I actually
That's
managed
fair.
to beat it. I don't know why, but I could not beat that game on the original controller. And I actually don't mind that controller, but I had trouble with that game. But I beat it on the DS. I love that.
It's not available for purchase now, but on the Wii U, you can actually play it with an analog stick. You still had to do the button to run, but it made it a lot more comfortable. Plus, you had to play it on a TV.
TV's better. I think
Yeah.
that's the analog stick. I think is the issue though, because I'm really shaky. So the analog stick, I have an easier time with a D-pad than an analog stick, which I know is not normal because you shouldn't get an angles better, but I can't get the angles right on an analog stick. I'm always moving.
64 DS was the first DS game I bought when I got my DS from a guy who wanted to sell it for a gigabyte guitar. That was the first game I bought. That and Zookeeper and WarioWare Touched, which is also 2004. Great game. All right, and Jody, you have anything you want to mention? I have a few more to get through too, but it won't be. We're not lightning round yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah. If we're not running around, I'll go into. I didn't get into it in 2004. I didn't start playing it until 2008. But 2004 is when World of Warcraft came out first.
Yes,
Yeah.
I wanted somebody to mention it.
One of my top games.
Yeah. I lost. Like I said, I didn't get until 2008, but I lost like an entire semester of university to that, that game.
I am so glad I can never really get that into MMOs.
That's a good thing.
You're lucky. Mine was
You're lucky.
I don't touch MMOs anymore because, I'm just not. I don't have the time.
my year of college. My year of college was pre-Lich King, so yeah.
Oh,
I used to annoy people. I used to go into dungeons with my dwarven hunter, but I refused to use a bow. So it was constantly firing off the gun, and people used to complain about the gun, and I had a crocolisk to bring with me, and it was hissing the whole time, too.
I've only
So I used to
played
tick
WoW,
people off. I just loved it.
but I was big into Final Fantasy 11. That was the game I sold my soul to
Mm.
for too many years.
Yeah, so I started playing WoW in late 2005, and it was a different experience back then. Honestly, the amount of stuff you could get into, just the amount of time you could lose, running the same instance 30, 40 times in a row to get your one piece of gear, just the amount of people that would get together, going in, what was it? MIRC was the old chat client back in the day, even, and getting your own chat channels going and just getting your raids together. That was just a different period of gaming. It's a lot more common now, clearly. People, you can talk and do live chat and all that. But back in 2004, it was a whole different monster.
I was pure keyboard chat. I could actually type back then fast.
I'll never forget Final Fantasy 11. I'd come home from school or work later on and just sit in Juno with a Seek Party up for hours, just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, 10-man raids back in the early WoW days, endgame.
Yeah, you didn't miss out that you didn't enjoy an MMO. Those things are time suckers in terrible ways. You will watch days disappear, and you accomplish nothing. I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to mention two games quick. One, Prince of Persia: Warrior Within came out in 2004, which me and Blair did a whole episode about.
Sure did.
It's a game, and a big game that came out in 2004 that I'm surprised Kyle didn't mention. One of my favorite PS2 RPGs, Shadow Hearts Covenant, came out in 2004.
True. I did like Shadow Hearts Covenant, but I've only played it. I haven't even beaten it, honestly. I played it twice ever. So another one I have got on my list to go back through. But
which one of the three was Covenant?
It's the second one. It's a sequel to the first Shadow Hearts, and then the third one.
Okay, that is the one I played then.
That's the best one.
Liked it.
It has I forget her name. Starts with a K on the cover.
Kadelka.
No, not Kadelka. It's not Kadelka.
Oh, no, it isn't?
The red-haired woman.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it's her. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played the game probably since 2005, but I remember loving it. I want to go back to it.
I mostly remember the pro wrestling vampire obsessed with justice.
Yep, that's a character. You are not wrong, unfortunately. And one more quick one. Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls came out in 2004 for Game Boy Advance, which is a great little collection. So it still holds up. It's how I played Final Fantasy 1 not that long ago for the show. So,
but Final Fantasy, Dawn of Souls, yes.
Yeah,
that's
it's 1 and 2
remade
remade on GBA. It's a nice little collection.
Yeah.
That's the first time I played 2 was on that one.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were good.
And Kyle.
All right, so I know we're saying we're not doing lightning rounds, but I'm about to do my fifth one now, my fifth lightning round. So, back in the day when I used to play shooters, and there may be some good ones to talk about here. So Star Wars Battlefront, the original, huge Battlefront fan. I thought Galactic Conquest was one of the greatest things you could do, versus bots even. I just had so much unlimited fun with that game. The fact that you could get medals and get, different weapons when you started with different classes, the more you played, fantastic time, really great game. They even remade it a couple of years ago. One that's a little less popular, but I really liked Medal of Honor Pacific Assault. I really enjoyed the Medal of Honor single-player games back in the day. I thought they had a really good process going with those games. I kind of miss the single-player shooter. Doesn't really exist anymore, and, I kind of wish there were some still. Just more for things that came out down the road. Red Dead Revolver was this year. Clearly, Red Dead Redemption and 2 are wildly fantastic games. Revolver's not exactly the same, but still a pretty good shooter. And then probably the big one, sorry if I'm ruining anyone's down the road, Doom 3. Doom 3 was fantastic on PC. That was the change of what Doom now is from what it was, and I think they did it perfectly. Being in hell, just hard everything, crazy graphics. It was fantastic when it came out.
It's still good.
And then two major ones, especially for what it became with Valve and Steam, Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike Source. I used to play Counter-Strike semi-professionally, like not really for a whole bunch of stuff, but we won some tournaments here and there, and like CS Source was it back in the day. I played so much Counter-Strike. Source was it kind of got it all together. You know, you had Steam, you had everything working. It was just so streamlined then, and the process became so much simpler than it used to be beforehand. Those shooters, those PC shooters in 2004, they really, like, everything kind of came together right to make it so easy multiplayer wise, and just to have all your games in kind of one place. It was a really big swing in the right direction.
I love Doom 3. We played it for the show not too long ago, or well, more like 2 years ago, but it's still so fun, and it's a really good horror game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, honestly, too. And everybody knew Doom, and then they come out with this game that's, like, better than anything you would have imagined at the time.
Yeah.
I had Battlefront on my list, too. Like, Battlefront was a great... We did it as a party game. People come over, play it. Played
That's
a
the
lot
right
of
way to play it, though.
Yeah. That and Galactic Conquest on my own, two of it. I loved was Star Wars, and that was my first real big Star Wars game to get into after, other than like the Clone Wars vehicle game, but this was better.
Oh, by far.
I know what you're talking about. And Blair, we're back to you again.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted a lot of ones. I know there's some big ones, but they're just not in my wheelhouse. And
I have 4.
So I'm just looking down through a list, and I kind of talked about an anniversary collection with Mega Man, but Street Fighter anniversary collection was also this year. I don't think I bought it myself until a year later in 2005. I don't even know what prompted me to buy it, but I think I got it cheap at a local video store because I had read in EGM about how good Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was, but they also mentioned how kind of intimidating it was. And I guess I just really wanted to play Street Fighter 2, and I was like, okay, I'll give this Third Strike thing a shot. And then that's where I learned to love Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, even though I'm not particularly good at it. One of the bonus features also was a copy of the Street Fighter animated movie, which I think I only had on VHS at that point, and I'm sure the quality is just terrible. But a friend of mine, we kind of had the similar skill level, and we used to play that game so much. And it's just like so gorgeous, and yeah, really got me back into like Street Fighter fighting games. So yeah. And another one, I'll just save everything else for lightning round.
Okay, if you guys want to do lightning round, we can. I got 4 games left that I'm going to mention if they don't get brought up. So I think we're almost an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Jody
got 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 2 left, so I'll leave them for the lightning round.
Okay, I'll just go next and quick. I'll get the 2 fighters out of the way. Dead or Alive Ultimate, which was Dead or Alive 1 and 2 for Xbox with Xbox Live. I suck at fighters, but for some reason, I got big into this one. Like, I really, really enjoyed Ultimate way more than I expected. And I actually was good at this game. Like, I could play it on, like, the hardest difficulty and win. And I was playing against online and winning. Like, I've never been that good at a fighter again or since. It was just a weird little moment in time. And it was in 2006 after I graduated from high school and was living in a shitty apartment with my girlfriend and her family and just playing this game a lot.
I mean, I could think of 2 potentially big reasons you liked it.
Yes. I love Kasumi. To this day, I love Kasumi.
I'm not a fighting game guy either. But yeah.
I had a little figure of Kasumi, which I threw away, unfortunately, years after my girlfriend bought it for me. And I'm like, I don't want this. She bought it for me. And I'm like, damn it, why did I throw away Kasumi? But I always liked Kasumi. I still do. Still like Kasumi. And the other game to mention quick that also came out in 2004, which I didn't play much of, Mortal Kombat Deception came out, which I did not really mess with, unfortunately. I played a lot of Deadly Alliance, but Deception I was kind of like falling off at the time. I know I played a little bit, because I'm pretty sure this is the one with the like Dragon King or something, bullshit like that. So
yeah, they introduced the I don't know if it's a conquest mode. I played Deadly Alliance, 3D. This era of Mortal Kombat, I was kind of checked out on. The only thing I remember about this is I think you're Shubchenko and you're kind of going around this adventure mode, and my friend and I love the way the voice actor said the line "Master Boraicho." That's the only thing I remember about this game.
yeah, and then I'll wait on my other 2. And Kyle.
Yeah, I'll probably just wait on my 2. I'm all done with the Lightning.
Blair, anything else? Or just Lightning 2?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just mention my 2, which I'm surprised we haven't brought up yet. Silent Hill 4, The Room came out 2004. The last Silent Hill game we got from Team Silent. This game is way better than people give it credit for. I played it a couple years ago for the show, and I really had a good time. Like, this game, I thought, really held up. It's a really good survival horror game that not enough people play. It's a strange one. It's very different than 2 and 3 that people love, but it's a really good game. And you can buy it on GOG, I'm pretty sure. So it's still out there. And then the last one I'm going to mention, which I can't believe we haven't talked about yet, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out in 2004.
That was one of my 2.
Oh,
That was
wow,
one of my top.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry,
one of my top games, honestly.
What should you talk about? I don't have much. Oh, I have one story. But then I'll have you. I'll just say that the reason I know this game as well as I do, I bought it the day it came out. And then years in 2006, when I was living with my girlfriend and then moved back, her brother took out my copy, replaced it with Liberty City Stories, and then she found out, she's like, hey, he's coming back in a couple months. Just give it back to me. I'll give it to him. He won't even notice. And then he just went and sold it instead. So, yeah, that's my story. I still remember that. And Kyle, why don't you talk about it, please?
Yeah, boy. So San Andreas, definitely my top 3 games of the year. And if according to Wikipedia, which I'm reading this is correct, it was the best-selling game of 2004 and the best-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time with almost 28 million copies sold.
That's easy to believe.
GTA San Andreas was like, it's top 2 GTA games, honestly, still. Like, such a good game at the time. It came out, you could make your character change, you could work out, like, things mattered in the game, the time scale mattered. It was so much bigger than what Vice City and 3 were, and it all meshed so well together, honestly. Like, this game was absolutely groundbreaking at the time. You could play multiplayer. You could play this game multiplayer. That was definitely possible back in the day. Like, everything you could do in this was so absolutely wild. The people they had in it, Samuel L. Jackson was in it, Faison Love, got James Woods even, seems, I'm reading the list down here now. But just a lot of big names, what San Andreas was and what eventually, 5 became, you could tell here they got everything right. Everybody talked about this game. Hot Coffee, the controversy came from this game. Yeah, the mod, like all of this. This was in everybody's mouths. When this game came out, everybody knew about this, and it was just so much fun. I played through all the Grand Theft Autos with a friend of mine probably about 10 years ago now, and of all the ones we played, this one I think we had the most fun with gameplays wise. It was just so good.
All right. Yeah, you had a lot more to say about it than I do. I never finished it. I've actually never finished any of them.
Okay. One thing I want to bring up before I forget, as soon as you said controversy, there is one other game that came out this year that caused some controversy. JFK Reloaded, in which you play as Lee Harvey Oswald trying to recreate the 3 shots fired at Kennedy.
What?
It's a real thing.
Until I looked on here and I saw it.
I did not learn about that until earlier today when I was looking up stuff to make sure I had this list complete. And
hey, you can play it on Abandonware if you're curious. So it exists.
I have nothing else to say about the game other than I'm kind of happy this exists for some reason.
The game was only $9.99 when it came out.
Well, I hope it wasn't full price. You're just
and it was released on the 41st anniversary of the assassination in 2004. All right, that's just strange.
It's a random bit of gaming history for everybody.
Oh, and it was released in United Kingdom. So I don't think it even came out in America. Oh, that's kind of funny. Okay.
It could be a hard sell.
Yeah, I kind of want to play it though now. I'm kind of curious. So, my favorite version of the JFK story is the one with Magneto was trying to take the bullet out because he was a mutant, and that's why it moved. Not because there's 2 or 3 shooters. No, because he's Magneto. I like that theory.
Well, this was made by the same guys who made Carmageddon. Neat.
That explains it right there. And yeah, let's go to lightning round. And Blair.
Yeah, I'll go as quick as I can. So I just want to take a second look at a list here because I know we had kind of talked about some of the bigger ones. So Maximo versus the Army of Zin. I was not a big Ghosts and Goblins guy, but I really I picked up Maximum Ghost of Glory for $29. It came with a free T-shirt, and I found myself really addicted to it. And similarly, I got the sequel for cheap because I don't think it sold particularly well, but it was still really fun. Shout out to Victor Lucas, who does voices for some of the villagers. Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, which I never played on the original Xbox. It was an Xbox exclusive. I had to wait until the remake came out, which was another great movie license game where you're Vin Diesel's character from that misguided sequel, but the first-person stealth worked really well and how they incorporated his ability to see in the dark. Lumine's Puzzle Fusion, which came in Japan in 2004. We wouldn't get until 2005. It's a great rhythm-based puzzle game. The Kickstarter series, and I guess minor shout-outs to Jack 3 and Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. For me, Up Your Arsenal was the first Ratchet & Clank game that clicked with me. In particular, I really loved the character of Dr. Nefarious. I thought he was absolutely hilarious. And it made me want to go back and play the other Ratchets, and now I play all of them when they come out.
All right. Jody.
Okay. 2, I was surprised didn't come up, but I don't have a ton to say. Halo 2, I don't have a ton to say.
How did we not mention that?
Yeah, it's just been, everybody knows it so well. I don't have much to say, just played a ton of it.
Yeah.
And even what that was the first one, midnight release I ever went to. First and only. And Fable. Fable came out, which Peter Molyneux, of course, had hyped up, so it was a good game. It wasn't what he claimed it was going to be. But no, it was a great game. And I actually just recently
Peter Molyneux's entire career.
Exactly. Right from black and white and everything. That he was going to revolutionize it with Fable, and there's a new Fable coming out soon that doesn't have him involved.
Okay.
And that's my life.
All right, I have 3 to mention quick. Sonic Heroes came out. Well, no, wait, never mind. That's 2003. You're lying to me. All right, I have 2. Resident Evil Outbreak came out in 2004 in North America. It's an interesting game. I played it when it first came out. A friend of mine was big into Resident Evil and brought it over. And Manhunt also came out in Xbox for 2004. Yeah. That is a fucked up game. My friend had it, and I remember him playing it. Be like, this is just ugh.
So, first,
sadly, mostly remembered for the controversy of whoever that lawyer was. I forget what his name was.
Jack Thompson.
Yeah, tried to sue everyone who touched that game.
Oh, he wasn't a politician?
No, he was a lawyer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
He got disbarred.
Good. Leave video games alone. It's not the reason why people are killing people in America. It's because you don't have any gun laws. That's why people are killing people in America.
He sued Arby's for having Nintendo figures because Nintendo had Manhunt. That was... I don't know how that works, but neither did the judge either, because that case got out.
People are stupid. And Kyle.
I think we got mine. I was going to mention Fable. Fun game at the time, good stuff, but not exactly what it was supposed to be. And then maybe hot debate topic here, Halo 2, way worse than Halo 1.
Disagree. Heavy. But okay.
It was different enough. I can agree and disagree. I can see there's some parts, but I love the Arbiter parts.
Yeah, just from a gameplay aspect and like a multiplayer aspect, because I used to play a lot of Halo.
I do think the multiplayer was better than the first one.
Multiplayer was way better than the first one. Maps were better than the first one, too. Yeah.
All right. And Michael, do you have anything to mention?
Just 2 last ones, both of which I'm also a little surprised didn't come up. Absolute classic for a lot of people, Tales from Symphonia. I couldn't get that into the Tales series, but I see why people liked it. And Beautiful Joe.
Yeah, I saw that year? Yeah. The PS2 port, I think, was 2005, where I think a lot of people found it.
I did play that on GameCube. I rented it. I never got into it, though.
I thought it was a lot of fun. Like, I'm not part of the huge cult following of the game, but it's really unique and had a lot of charm. I enjoy it. I'd be happy if we got another Beautiful Joe game at some point.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I know.
Good luck.
Look, if we got a Brigandine game released 3 years ago, we can get Beautiful Joe.
Yeah, if Marvel versus Capcom is coming back, we're living in a timeline where anything is possible.
Did not know that was coming back.
Yes, it got announced in the Nintendo Switch thing. Oh. It's going to be on Steam, too. I have it wishlisted. All right, we should go to our top 3, and I'll go first real quick. Let me pull that up. Zelda. All right. From 3, Metroid Zero Mission. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, and my number 1, Snake Eater. I fucking love that game. And Blair.
I would say 1, Metal Gear Solid 3, even though Subsistence would be my true love for that series 2 years later. 2, Sly Cooper 2, and 3, that's a tough one. I'll give this Spider-Man 2, just for how important that is, the Spider-Man games.
Not Warrior Within?
No, I was also like, no love for Steel Battalion in this chat. I guess we're all people on budgets.
I played it once. It was great.
A friend had it. Played for
I always
10
wanted
minutes.
that game, but I never got it.
And Jody.
All right. Number 3 for me is GoldenEye Rogue Agent, mostly due to memories. My number 2 is Zelda Minish Cap. So, like I said, second favorite Zelda of all time. And my number 1 would be Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2.
Nice.
I just
Got my
love
attention
D&D
even
games.
And Kyle.
Boy, this is tough. 3 is Dragon Quest 8. I'm going to go with 2 as World of Warcraft, and San Andreas is number 1 for me.
And Michael.
Oh, like 3 and 2 is a hard split for me. I'm going to say 3, Katamari Damacy. It's a weird choice for the top 3, but I can't help it. With what I think is one of the only repeats on this between any of our top 3s, I'm putting Sly 2 at number 2. And at my heart, it's the hard RPGs. I got to go Nocturne.
All right. I guess that just wraps it up and goes to plugs. And Blair, where can we find you at?
Find me on various social media platforms at Blarcade or my name. You can read my work at comicbookvideogames.com, as infrequent as it seems to be lately. You can search my name in Amazon and find my books, and you can now find me streaming comic book video games on Twitch at twitch.tv/Blarcade.
Jody.
All right. You can still find me on Twitter, or X, I guess it is now, occasionally, as Bachwheel. Other than that, catch me on Mike's Discord. I'm there.
And Kyle.
All right. You can also check me on the Discord or at therpgshow.com.
And Michael.
Find me usually over at the Distorted Illuminations YouTube channel or Mad Monarch _DI on Twitter.
All right. And you can see link to all the show. You will see a link in the show notes to all these wonderful gentlemen and stuff. So definitely go check it out. You want to support the show? We have over 650 other episodes of this podcast. You can find everything we do on Podbean. We do movies, comics, TV shows, games, whatever the hell people convince me to talk about. So definitely go check that out. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Free. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram. She's TikTok famous. And give a shout out to Bill Tucker at A Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check out his show. He's currently doing Final Fantasy all year, most likely. So definitely go support him. And if you want to support us, we do have a Patreon. For those that are voting our Patreon poll, you'll see one every month, sometimes two. And please join our Discord, which is free. And we're always happy to have new people join our Discord. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Now.
Bye.